Welcome to a special around noon production of the original radio drama The Machine Stops by Eric Coble, a dramatization of the short story The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster. Originally published almost a century ago in 1909, The Machine Stops is a remarkably prophetic story as E.M. Forster envisions a future world where the environment has been destroyed and humans are forced to live underground. All communication is done through the ominous machine. Forster's story centers on two characters, Vashti and her son Kuno, who live on opposite ends of the world. On Friday, August 24, 2007, Eric Coble's radio adaptation of The Machine Stops was performed before a live studio audience at the Idea Center in the Westfield Insurance Studio Theater of Playhouse Square. This production of The Machine Stops is a partnership between IdeaStream and the Center for Literature, Medicine, and Biomedical Humanities at Hiram College.
Voice, on your sight, on your ears, on the air that you breathe, in, out in, your touch and your breathe, inside your tongue, your dreams in the dark. I will hold your thoughts.
Car bomb killed 6 as new round of violence
Car
breaks
bomb.
out.
Insurgents kill 7.
3 guardsmen killed in car bombing.
Several die in confirmed violence.
Several die in violence.
Several die in violence.
More troops will be sent.
Top terror suspect
New
apprehended.
terror warning.
School shooting, teen accused of murder.
Body found at elementary school.
Test conducted after mercury
Revenues
leak.
fall
As
weather
weather
heats
heats
up,
up,
so
so
does
does crime.
Husband charged in wife's murder. 2 shootings kill 4.
Husband charged in
Vandal
wife's murder.
strikes
Husband
2
charged
shootings
in
kill
wife's
4.
murder.
Vandal
Child
strikes
found
local
wandering
school.
street.
Child
Vandal
found
strike.
wandering
Residents
streets.
urged to
Residents
fight
urged to
Outbound
fight
wandering
back
streets.
against crime.
Residents urged to fight back against crime.
End contact.
End contact.
End contact.
End.
Contact.
Computer-generated images offer virtual relief from severe pain.
Speed. Efficiency.
Efficiency.
Ease.
Speed.
Security.
Efficiency.
Speed.
Speed.
Efficiency.
Security.
Ease. Security.
Security.
Pacemakers, peacemakers,
no wave, microwave, coffee grinders, egg beaters, fruit juicers, garage door openers. Television, stereo, VHS, CD, DVD, HD, TiVo, remote, control. Verizon, Intel, Alltel, YouTube, Microsoft, Apple, Dell, iMac, iBook, iPod, eBay, iPhone, YouTube, Microsoft, Apple, Dell.
My machine gives me so much.
Instant connection.
Family.
Speed, efficiency,
Constant
ease.
If
communication.
I want to, I can work from home.
At home.
Alone.
People from all over the world can find me.
And my work.
Travel.
Medicine.
Virtual relief for severe pain.
Pacemakers, peacemakers.
Time savers, screensavers.
No
No
wave,
wave,
microwave.
Coffee grinder, egg beater, fruit juicer.
Cell phone.
PDA.
Airplane.
Email.
Voicemail.
You've got mail.
Instant connection.
Family.
Speed, efficiency,
Speed.
ease.
Efficiency.
Speed.
Ease.
Efficiency. Ease.
Constant communication.
Remote.
Remote.
Control.
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 And so humanity retreated from the dangers of the world into the vast series of underground apartments honeycombed throughout the earth. It is in one such apartment, the same apartment as every other apartment, that Vashti now sits.
Music Volume 2. Receiver on. Who is it?
Hello, Mother. Can you see me?
Kuno, oh darling, of course I can see you. Thank goodness you've called. I'm delivering a lecture in 5 minutes. Music of the Australian period. Will you listen?
I may. I don't know.
It'd be delightful if you'd listen.
Have you had some new ideas?
Possibly. I've been collecting stories from all over the world, from the last few centuries, thinking of the effect on young musicians. And as I only know one young musician...
I don't play anymore, Mother.
But you could. You could play for me, just for me. The music you used to think up was so like the Bolivian period.
School. Yeah, new music doesn't interest me.
But perhaps you'll be inspired. There's lectures today from Canada near you. Or about the mountains. I know how you love the mountains.
I did hear a good lecture on mountains a few weeks ago. It was the last lecture I listened to.
A few weeks? Oh my goodness, Kuno, how can you stand not hearing lectures?
I'm not sure. That's partly why I called.
Are you in touch with your friends?
Not too much anymore, no.
Are you all right?
I don't know.
Because it's vital to stay in touch with your friends. I made new friends last week, 2 in the Eastern Hemisphere and 1 in the Western. My life's so much richer because of them.
And your hundreds of other friends.
Of course. Only connect, Kuno. Only connect. What's the point of living if you don't connect?
That's what I'm trying to do. I've called before, but you're always so busy. Or isolated.
Then why haven't you written? My mail account is on constantly. I get hundreds of letters.
I can't write
I send
this.
hundreds of letters.
I need to say the words. I need...
Well?
I think I want you to come and see me.
I can see you. Your image is perfectly clear on my screen. What more do you want?
I don't want to see you through the machine. I need to speak to someone in person, in here, in the same room, not through the stupid machine.
Hush! You do not speak that way against the machine.
Why not?
One mustn't.
Or what?
Kuno.
Mother, please. Something's happening, and I need to see someone. I need to see you.
Kuno, sweetheart, I scarcely have time for my lectures and all my friends. I don't
Take
have...
an airship. They only take 2 days
I
from you to me.
dislike airships.
Why?
One sees too much. The horrible brown earth and the sea and the stars when it gets dark. I get no ideas in the airships.
I don't get them anywhere else.
What kind of ideas can the air give you?
There are 4 big stars that form an oblong, and 3 stars close together in the middle of the oblong. And hanging from these stars, there are 3 other stars.
I dislike the stars.
They gave me an idea.
Really?
I had an idea that they were like a man.
I don't understand.
The 4 big stars are the man's shoulders and his knees. The 3 stars in the middle are like the belts that men once wore, and the 3 stars hanging are like a sword.
A sword?
Men used to carry swords with them to kill animals and other men.
That doesn't sound like a very good idea to me.
No, I guess it wouldn't.
But it's certainly original, Kuno, very original.
I think I want to see the stars again, not from an airship, but from the surface of the earth, like our ancestors did thousands of years ago. I think I need to go up to the surface of the earth.
Why? The videos are good enough.
No, that's what they're saying, and it's not good enough. We've all settled for good enough.
Who's saying? What are you talking
Mother,
about?
please come. I'm hearing them all the time now. I need to know if you hear them too. If you can hear
The
them...
surface of the earth is dust and mud, Kuno. No life remains on it. You'd need a respirator, or the cold of the outer air would kill you. One dies immediately in the outer air. I heard a lecture on that just the other day.
If I go, I'll take all precautions. I don't even know if I'm going. I need you to come first. I need you...
Travel? Adventure?
Mother!
Kuno! It is contrary to the spirit of the age.
You mean contrary to the machine?
Well, in a sense, yes, but...
End contact.
Kuno! Kuno, are you there? It's very rude to isolate yourself when one is being addressed. Oh, see what you've made me do. I have at least 3 minutes of accumulations. Receiver 2. Incoming contact.
Hello, Vashti. I was wondering if you tasted the new food yet. Can you recommend it?
The new food is horrible.
Hello, Vashti. Would you like to make an appointment to view the public nurseries this month?
No time. I have engagements.
Hello, Vashti. Just wondering if you'd had any ideas lately. I've had a few I'd like to share.
No new ideas of my own. But I've just heard one. 4 stars and 3 in the middle are like a man. I don't think there's much in it.
My new
also
idea
use
involves a
the
hot
Bible
cold
as
bath
the
button.
basis book of
And what may
No
happen is
time,
one presses both
no
simultaneously.
time,
It's
no
like a
time.
cold bath button.
Receiver
And what might happen
2
if one
off. I have to present my lecture. Transmitter on. Begin transmitting. Greetings, friends. My name is Vashti, and I'm speaking today on Australian music. To begin, I would remind you of some of the music of the pre-Mongolian epoch, as well as the great outburst of song that followed the Chinese conquest. For while the methods of the Ai-Sen-So and the Brisbane schools seem remote and primeval, I feel that the study of them may repay the musicians of today, for they had freshness. They had, above all, ideas. My lecture will last approximately 10 minutes, after which I invite my audience to listen to a lecture on the sea.
Hello, Vashti. Wonderful lecture yesterday.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you tried this new deodorized liquid in the basin. I think it's a wonder.
I've found lowering the lights to 1 helps me isolate more deeply.
I find my sleeping configuration not to my liking. It's a bit too large.
But there's no use complaining. You're not going to find a different bed configuration anywhere on Earth.
I know that.
The texture of this liquid soap is quite extraordinary.
I heard a lecture full of ideas this morning.
Adored your lecture, Vashti.
Thank you.
I had an idea myself.
Fresh ideas are always so wonderful.
I almost had an idea recently.
Excuse me, friends. If you'll pardon me, I think I'm in need of some isolation.
Of course.
Goodbye,
And contact.
Vashti.
And contact.
And contact. Machine,
Yes.
I need departures of airships in the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere.
The next
No,
flight.
not the next flight. Sometime next week or month.
There are 5 flights every 24 hours.
I'd have to call a car, wouldn't I?
Cars are available every 23 minutes. And
Out the tunnel, up the vomitorium, over the earth. I don't have time. I have 30 calls and letters waiting. Thank you, machine.
goodbye.
Receiver on. Contact Kuno. Kuno, there you are. You don't. Are you feeling well, darling?
I can't talk to you until you come.
Don't you threaten me, young man.
It's not a threat. I want you to come. They want you to come.
They who?
End contact.
Kuno! Impudence. End contact. Outer door open. Hello? Is there anyone there? Outer door close. Receiver on. Contact Kuno.
Hello, Mother.
Why don't you come to me instead?
Because I can't leave this place.
Why not?
Because at any moment, something tremendous may happen.
Have you been on the surface yet?
Not yet.
Then what? What is it?
I can't tell you through the machine.
Honestly, Kuno.
All you have to do is open your door.
I did that.
And call a car, and it will fly you down to the tunnel, to the lift, to the air station.
Kuno, listen to yourself. You don't sound well. These creaking ideas of bringing people to things. You bring things to people.
I know, the olden days when men went for a change of air instead of changing the air in their room.
Precisely. I'm worried about you.
End contact.
End contact. Something tremendous might happen. What does that mean?
I heard a tremendous lecture
There's a
today.
new medicine coming. It's supposed to be
I
tremendous.
almost had a tremendous idea recently.
There was new music based on old
There's a
Bolivian
fresh new
chords.
set available for all rooms
There
now.
are new editions of the Book of the Machine
End
coming out.
contacts. Something tremendous. Outer door open. Summon car.
You're tuned to a special around noon production of The Machine Stops by Eric Coble, a dramatization of the short story The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster, first published in 1909. This original radio drama was recorded before a live studio audience in the Idea Center's Westfield Insurance Studio Theater in Playhouse Square. This production of The Machine Stops is a partnership between IdeaStream and the Center for Literature, Medicine, and Biomedical Humanities at Hiram College.
In the near future, humanity has retreated into a series of apartments beneath the surface of the Earth, all served by the omnipresent machine. However, Vashti has now ventured across the world to visit her son, Kuno.
Hello, Mother.
Hello, Kuno. Your room looks exactly as mine does. I knew it would.
Please, come in. Sit. You can take my chair.
I don't understand travel. It's all the same. What's the good of going to Cleveland when it just looks like Beijing?
Mother.
Why return to Beijing when it will only look like Cleveland?
Mother, sit down, please. Rest. You're agitated.
How could I not be agitated? That airship. It was nothing like the airships in the videos. For one thing, it smelled. Not strongly or unpleasantly, mind you, but there was a definite smell.
I know.
And there was an attendant, an actual woman, and a few other passengers, very few, almost empty. But I was on edge the entire trip.
I can imagine.
And once I was in my cabin, trying to isolate myself, I found light shining in, raw sunlight, dawn, the sun rising. And I tried to close the blind entirely, and it malfunctioned. It snapped up, and the sunlight almost struck my face, full on.
I'm sorry.
I rang for the attendant. Stupid woman. And she was horrified as well, but she couldn't do anything. It wasn't her place to fix the blind.
I can only suggest you may wish to change your cabin, ma'am.
But as I turned away from the sunbeams, I lost my balance. I started to fall, and this woman, the barbarian, oh, she touched me.
I'm sorry.
How dare you? You forget yourself.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. I should have let you fall. Please forgive me.
Where are we now?
We're over Asia.
Oh.
That's the old name for it.
Yes. I remember Asia. The Mongols came from it.
Beneath us, in the open air, there used to be a city they called Simla.
Simla. Have you ever heard of the Mongols and of the Brisbane school?
No.
Brisbane also stood in the open air.
Those mountains to the right, they used to be called the roof of the world, those mountains.
And that white material in the cracks, what is it?
I've forgotten its name.
Cover the window, please. These mountains give me no ideas. It was the most terrible journey and greatly retarded the development of my soul. It is not worth it, Kuno. It is not worth it. My time is too precious. I can only stay a few minutes. Say what you want to say, and then I must return. My letters and calls are piling up even as we speak. I can feel them weighing down on me.
I have been threatened with homelessness. I have been threatened with homelessness. That's what I couldn't tell you through the machine.
But homelessness is death.
I know.
The victim is exposed to the air, which kills him.
The tremendous thing has happened. I've been outside since I spoke to you last, but they've discovered me.
But it's perfectly legal to go outside. I've just been to a lecture on the sea. A man went there with no objections. He simply summoned a respirator and got a surface permit.
I didn't get a surface permit.
Then how did you get out?
I found a way out on my own. a way of my own, Mother.
But that would be wrong.
Why? Is it blasphemy to find a way out on my own? That's the word the committee used when they threatened me with homelessness. You're just like them. You worship the machine.
I worship nothing. I am advanced. Besides, you can't have found a new way out. There is no new way out.
That's what everyone thought.
Except through the vomitories, and one must have a surface permit. It's impossible to get out. The machine says so.
Well, the machine is wrong. I've been out using my feet.
I knew it. That physical strength. Ever since you were a child, when they took you away, I told you it would bring you nothing but heartache.
What caused me heartache was I'd lost our sense of space. We've lost a part of ourselves, and I want it back. I knew that when I heard the voices.
What voices?
In the hallway. I'd been quiet for some time, lost in thought, my own thoughts, jumbled thoughts, stifling thoughts. When I heard them the first time, and I opened my door.
And who was it?
No one. There was no one there.
It was wind, air in the tunnels.
It was saying, "We're waiting. We're waiting." And then it said,
I heard a lecture on this. Voices in the mind, very disconcerting. The machine has medications.
I didn't want medicines. I wanted to see who was waiting. So I began walking up and down the platforms of the railways outside my room. Up and down until I was tired. And I learned what it meant to be near and far. Near is a place I can get to quickly on my feet. Far is a place I can't reach quickly on my feet. The vomitory is far, even though I could get there in 38 seconds by car. But man is the measure. That was my first lesson. Our feet are the measure for distance. Our hands are the measure for ownership. Our body is the measure for everything that's lovable and desirable and strong. That's when I called you for the first time, and you wouldn't come. So I took the lift to the next platform and paced that one, and the one above, and the one above, until I came to the top. There was nothing above anymore but the earth.
Did the voices stop?
Yes.
Thank goodness.
No! I wanted them back.
What?
Our cities were built in the days when men lived on the earth and still breathed the outer air. I knew there had to be ventilation shafts for the workmen, and I became obsessed with these ventilation shafts. Had they been destroyed by all the food tubes and medicine tubes and music tubes of the machine? Or was there one forgotten? One last escape for the air? And after many visits, I found an opening.
Oh, Kuno.
The tunnels, of course, were lighted. Everything is light, artificial light. So when I saw a black gap in the tiles, I knew that it was an exception. And my pulse started racing. I put in my arm. That's all I could fit at first. And I waved it around and around in ecstasy. Loosened another tile and put in my head. And I shouted into the darkness, "I'm coming! I'm coming!" And my voice echoed down endless passages. And I could hear the spirits of the dead workmen, all the dead men and women who went home each evening to the starlight and to their wives and husbands and the air, and all the generations who lived in the open air calling back to me, "You're coming. You're coming." But I'd done enough for one day. So I crawled back down the platform, went down in the lift, and ordered a respirator.
Don't talk like this. You're hurting me. You're throwing civilization away.
It was easy at first. The mortar had rotted, and I pushed some mortar tiles in and climbed into the darkness. Darkness I hadn't created. And I knew for the first time that we existed. that we existed without clothes.
Excuse me?
We were naked. Humanity was naked, and all these tubes and buttons and machinery didn't come into the world with us, and they won't follow us out, and they don't matter while we're here. If I'd have been strong, I'd have torn off all my clothes and gone out into the outer air completely free. But I couldn't. That's got to be the next generation. I climbed with my respirator and my hygienic clothes and my dietetic tabloids, and there was a ladder made of some ancient metal. It led straight up the shaft. And as I climbed, the rough edges cut through my gloves so that my hands bled.
Oh, sweetheart.
Worse than the blood was the silence. The silence pierced my ears like a sword. The machine hums. Did you know that? Did you know that, Mother? It hums through our blood and our brains and our dreams. But I was getting beyond its power. Then I thought, oh, I'm doing something wrong. This silence means I'm doing wrong. But there were these voices.
You're coming.
I hate these voices.
They said,
It's worth it.
If you reach the surface, you'll be with us.
If you fall and smash to pieces, you'll be with us. Climb.
and I climbed. And everything I cared about and all the people I ever spoke to through the wires were so small, so small. And then I...
What?
I was lying with my face to the sunshine.
Raw sun?
Blood was pouring from my nose and ears, and I heard this tremendous roar. The air from below had blown me through the surface like a fountain. I rolled over and I crawled back to the hole because the upper air hurts, Mother. It burns, and I took sips of our air from the edge. My respirator had blown God knows where. My clothes were torn. I lay breathing with my lips close to the hole. And I sipped the air until the bleeding stopped. And it was peaceful. I knew I was near the Great Lakes because I had heard a lecture on it before I started. The ancient Great Lakes lie right above this room right now. It used to be important. The tribes of the 5 nations held all the edges of the water. The Cayugas and the Iroquois battled the Rigi tribes on the southern waters. And eventually, I could crawl around. Eventually, I stood. I saw these ferns at the top of the hollow. My only goal now was to get to these ferns and see whatever lied beyond. So I rushed the slope. But the new air was still too slicing, and I came rolling back. But this isn't interesting you, is it? There are no ideas in it. I shouldn't have asked you to come.
No, please, continue.
I finally climbed the bank at dusk. You've just crossed the roof of the world, so this won't make any sense to you, but the little hills that I saw, low, colorless hills, they were alive. And the grass and mud that covered them was skin. I could see their muscles rippling underneath. And they were calling me. They'd been calling men for eons, and men loved them, and now they slept, maybe forever. But they still call us in dreams. Happy the man, happy the woman who awakes the hills of the Great Lakes. For though they sleep, they will never die. We're the ones dying. The only thing that's alive is the machine. We're just the blood cells racing through its arteries, and if it could work without us, the machine would let us die.
Go on.
No.
Go on. Nothing you say can distress me now. I'm hardened.
I can't tell you.
Kuno, I have come halfway across this world. I have braved barbarian women and smells and sights because my son begged me to come hear his story, and I will hear his story. Tell me how you were rescued.
Rescued? Right. How I came back down Had I gotten to the part where the air from the tunnel began to die down?
No, but I understand everything now. You found your respirator and managed to walk to a vomitory, and there your conduct was reported to the Central Committee.
No. The fountain of air was weakening. It wasn't until it was too late that I realized what that meant. You see, the gap in the tunnel had been mended. The mending apparatus was after me. In the moonlight, I thought I saw something dark move across the bottom of the hollow and vanish into the shaft. So stupidly, I ran down and I bent over and I listened. And I thought I heard a faint scraping noise. And then it was too late. I knew it was the mending apparatus, and I knew I was dead, and I knew I had to escape. And if I was going to die, I wanted to die running for the hills of the Great Lakes. But I never even started. Out of the shaft came this worm, this long white worm came shooting out of the shaft over the grass, and I screamed. I did everything I shouldn't have done. I stamped on the creature instead of running, and it curled around my ankles, and we fought, and I was screaming for help, and no one was there to hear me, and I was screaming for help, and my feet were wound together, and I fell, and I was dragged away from the ferns and the living hills, and the whole dell was full of these things searching in all directions, ripping the land apart. The white snouts of others peeping out of the holes, ready to join, and anything they could move, they dragged down. Brushwood and bundles of ferns, everything, and we all went down intertwined into hell. The last thing I saw before the darkness were the stars. And I thought I could live in the sky. And I woke up in this room. No worms, just artificial air and artificial light and artificial peace. And my friends were calling me through the wires to know whether I'd come across any new ideas lately.
The machine has been most merciful.
I prefer the mercy of God.
Do you really think you could have lived in the outer air?
Yes.
Have you ever seen the videos around the vomitories? The bones of the ones forced out after the Great Rebellion?
Yes.
They were left there for our edification. That's what happens to the homeless now. The surface of the earth no longer supports life, Kuno.
So I hear.
Has any airship ever detected anything?
No.
Has any lecturer ever spoken of this?
No.
Then why are you saying these things?
Because I have seen them.
Seen what?
Her. I saw a woman in the twilight. Because she came to help when I screamed. Because she was wrapped up by the worms too. Except that she was luckier than I was, and she was killed by one of them piercing her throat.
You're mad.
I know what I saw, Mother.
You hear voices. You dream you go to the surface. I'm leaving. This is all a waste of time, speaking to madmen. My son was never mad. My boy was a musician. He loved the machine. He loved learning. He loved being connected. He loved life. He was...
I know.
Outer door open.
Goodbye, Mother.
You're tuned to a special around noon production of The Machine Stops by Eric Coble, a dramatization of the short story The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster, first published in 1909. This original radio drama was recorded before a live studio audience in the Idea Center's Westfield Insurance Studio Theater in Playhouse Square. This production of The Machine Stops is a partnership between IdeaStream and the Center for Literature, Medicine, and Biomedical Humanities at Hiram College.
In the near future, humanity has retreated into a series of apartments beneath the surface of the Earth, all served by the omnipresent machine. Now Vashti returns home, having crossed the globe to hear her son Kuno's startling revelations about the world above.
Home again. Machine.
You have 1,093 messages.
Honestly.
Vashti, have you heard? They've outlawed respirators.
Good riddance.
I've always said it was vulgar to go to the surface.
Dangerous, foolish, destructive.
Some lecturers are complaining. Can't get first-hand to their subject matters.
There's
First
always
hand?
video.
Why must everything be first-hand?
I saw an excellent video.
It's so much more beautiful and efficient.
They want to lecture on the sea. Let them compile a lecture from previous lectures.
You can't trust first-hand impressions.
They're too excitable, too unreliable.
Not thought through and well ordered.
It's like that lecture I heard the other day, or other week, on the French Revolution.
I'll tell you today what Professor Lafcadio Hearn thinks about what Carlyle thought, about what Mirabeau thought, Gutch thought, Urizen thought, Enchaman thought, Ho Young thought, Chibo Singh thought about the French Revolution. 9 of the greatest minds in history at our fingertips, to correct one another, to illuminate one another, to go beyond facts and impressions to a truth that no first-hand contact could ever have achieved.
Praise the
machine! It truly is remarkable.
I'm continually amazed at the sense of peace I get when I'm accessing the machine.
That thrill in checking messages.
That little ecstasy in being instant.
It feeds us, clothes us, houses us. If it weren't for the machine, who would we know?
I love the monitors.
I love the mending apparatus.
I love the Central Committee.
I honestly think I'm growing more spiritual.
I as well.
Have you heard from Kuno lately?
Not for months or years. I lose track of time.
Did you hear Melina was granted euthanasia?
Please. After a bad lecture, I'd requested euthanasia myself. Hold. Receiver 4, connect.
Mother?
Kuno? Is that you?
Hello, Mother.
Why can't I see you? Where's your face?
I just needed to tell you.
I can't come and visit you. Not again, never again. I don't have the time.
Do you know where I am?
No, I heard you were still alive. Heard you'd been moved from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere as punishment.
A room not far from yours.
Ah, well, it's been so many months since I saw you.
Years.
Years. I lose track. I'm glad you're alive.
The machine stops.
What?
The machine is stopping. I can tell. I know the signs. End contact.
He said what?
The machine is stopping. Can you imagine anything more absurd?
What does that mean?
No idea.
Is he talking about the trouble with the music?
No, he doesn't listen to music. Never very musical. But you and I, let's talk about music.
Have you called the authorities?
About Kuno?
About the music.
Oh, no. Yes. And they say it just needs mending. They referred me to the committee of the mending apparatus. I told them about the gasping sighs in the middle of the Brisbane symphonies.
They sound like someone in pain.
They said it would be mended shortly.
Thank you for calling the mending apparatus support line. What seems to be the problem?
The music, it's foul.
We're working on it.
If you can't fix it, I'll go to the Central Committee.
No personal complaints are received by the Central Committee.
Then to whom should I complain?
Us.
Then I'm complaining.
We'll forward that complaint right along.
Have others complained?
Thank you for calling the mending apparatus support line. End contact.
But
What did you say, Vashti?
I said I can never be sure of the music now.
What?
My music. The sighs and the banging, I don't know if it's in my head or the walls.
Oh, I don't notice the music anymore.
I barely do.
But the fruit!
Is yours moldy too?
You should complain.
I have. It was forwarded to the Central Committee.
That's what they did with my complaint about the bitter water.
Is yours stinking as well?
Yes.
And the poetry creation program, the rhythms are so jarring anymore.
I've complained about that.
Haven't noticed that one.
Well, my bed won't work properly.
Mine either.
Thank you for contacting the mending apparatus support line. We are currently receiving notices of failures of sleeping apparatus in Sumatra, Wessex, Cortland, Brazil.
I want to file a complaint.
Your complaint will be forwarded to the Central Committee.
You know what this is? Someone sabotaged the machine.
Someone wants to destroy the machine. They want to be king.
Or queen.
They need to find this person and make him homeless.
Yes, homelessness.
But homelessness is so brutal.
What he's doing to the machine is brutal.
We must avenge the machine. Find the man and kill him.
Thank you for contacting the mending apparatus support line. At this time, the mending apparatus itself is in need of repairs. Thank you for your patience and cooperation.
Oh.
Well,
I'm sorry.
the mending apparatus has taken good care of us so far. If it needs time to be repaired itself, the least we can do is be patient.
It will resume its activities in its own time.
I can get by without a bed or vitamins
All
or...
our petty wants.
I think that's what the machine would want us to do.
Yes.
Absolutely. I hear euthanasia isn't working anymore either.
For the elderly?
For anyone.
Does that mean people are in pain?
Elderly people, I suppose.
But it could be anyone.
When did they say the mending apparatus would be fixed?
I'm sure they'll tell us.
I'm not complaining, but has anyone else noticed that it's getting harder to read?
I wondered if it was my eyes.
Mine too.
I think it's the air. There's a haze.
I've noticed a slight smell.
I actually had trouble seeing across the room sometimes.
We've got to have courage. The machine would want us to have courage.
I wish we had a lecture on courage right now.
As long as we have the machine, we'll be fine.
I hear the Sumatrans have been asked to familiarize themselves with the
What?
workings of the central power station.
I can't hear
to
you.
help
Isn't
mend
the
it.
central power station in France?
Sorry, could you repeat?
But the terrorists who were attacking the machine have been beaten back.
I can't.
That's what it sounded like today. Like the
We
mending
can't
apparatus had been
panic.
fixed. I hear new nerve centers are being developed. They'll work better than these.
Hello? Hello? Are you there? Hello? Hello? Are you there? Receiver on. Machine? Transmitter on! Machine! Machine! Where are the lights? And what's that sound? Machine! What's that sound? Lights 6. Lights 10. Machine lights 10. The door. Outer door open. Machine, outer door open. Oh, no, no. No! Save me, machine! Save me, machine! Save me, machine! Who's there?
Mother?
Kuno? Kuno? You're alive. Where are you?
I'm here.
Where are you?
I'm here. Follow my voice. Here.
There you are, Kuno. I can't see anything. I can't hear anything. What's happening? What's going on?
People are on the platforms, dying. Some screaming, most crying, calling for respirators or euthanasia. I found my way here over the bodies. I needed to see you.
What's this on your face? Are you bleeding?
Some.
I think I am as well.
Shh, I'm here. I'm here.
Is there any hope?
We're talking. Not through the machine.
Kuno.
Shh. Look. Look up above us.
I can see the stars.
Thank you for listening to this special Around Noon production, The Machine Stops by Eric Coble, a dramatization of the 1909 short story by E.M. Forster. This original radio drama was recorded in front of a live audience in the Idea Center's Westfield Insurance Studio Theater in Playhouse Square. Following the production, playwright Eric Coble took questions from the audience.
I had not read this story when Martin brought it to me or suggested doing it. And so he gave me a copy of it, and I read through, and again, like everyone else, and I imagine like most folks in this audience, could not really believe it was written in 1909. What you heard tonight was slightly updated. There were certain terms that I put in, obviously, that Forster would not have known about, but the whole premise and the idea of speaking through wires and the idea of watching each other through screens and the idea of nobody leaving, having the world brought to them, and nobody traveling anymore, all that was written, as David said, almost 100 years ago, before the invention of the television. So it was quite astonishing, and I immediately was intrigued with the idea of trying to create this world on stage, and so I created about a 45-minute piece to be done by 5 actors on stage to recreate this world. And it has been done a couple of times now, including at Ingenuity Festival, and then along the way I found out that David Hansen was a huge fan of the short story, and had been thinking of doing a theatrical adaptation himself. So fortunately, I beat him to it in this instance. Fortunately for me, I don't know it's fortunately for him at all.
Fortunate for the world.
Okay. And then along the way, the idea of doing this on the radio came up. And David immediately grasped how that could be done and why it should be done and how to make it really work like it did tonight. And so we began to have meetings about it, and Dave DiOrio and Dee Perry both immediately got on board from WCPN and helped usher us to being here tonight. Having watched it myself for the first time in its entirety, I saw a rehearsal early this morning that was stop and start as they were adding all those technical cues, but just watching it now is truly amazing. I mean, the work that everyone did here and just the world that was totally created in the space of 45 minutes was astonishing. So thank you to everyone here. And thank you guys for the wind and being part of that world, and the moans and the groans and the coughs. So any questions or anything for anybody, for that matter?
First of all, everything was great, all aspects. The sound effects definitely really hooked me in. At some points I was just closing my eyes, hopefully I didn't think I was falling asleep, but just to try to visualize it in my head. And at the end, I just want to say I was so grateful when the humming stopped, because I was always aware of it. I don't know if I'm just super conscious of it, like noises and stuff, but at the end, it was a great change, and it was amazing at the end to have just those two voices talking. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was. I was quite struck, again, with this performance tonight especially, and in Act 2 as well, when he gets up to the surface, when he's retelling that story. I don't know how many of you felt that very clear moment where he said it was silent, and it got silent for the first time all evening. And it's a very powerful moment, and I don't know how many of you have ever just sat around your houses in silence, or so-called silence, and just heard that light hum that comes from everything around you, be it, whatever electricity is flowing through the house, the refrigerator, the television, the stereo, just that very light hum that's constant in our lives now. And if we all got quiet in this room right now, there's a whole bunch of noise. So anytime you get to that true silence, it's a pretty astonishing thing.
Yeah, and just being overexposed that whole time to all of those different noises. And then when I heard, I think it was the crickets or the nighttime, it was amazing, because it's like you take those moments of there's the stars, or there's the fresh air, and them discovering it was beautiful. So, enjoyed
Great.
it.
Thank you.
The infamous two-part question.
Okay.
Number one, could you quantify actually how much you changed it from the original story? Because it is alarmingly prescient. And number two, if memory serves correct, you wrote a bunch of plays in the 90s about people in their homes and being isolated and just communicating through machines. So can you speak to your fascination with that whole...
That's right. My obsession, one might say.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. How much I changed? Well, I cut some parts. Just again, in order to take it from being a short story into being a stage play and then a radio play. And as I say, updated little bits. I added, there's more humor in the play than there is in the short story. A lot of the voices, some of what the voices say is in the story as well, but a lot of that dialogue and the kind of things that come out was original. But I'd say maybe 30% of it are my words, and 70% of it's Forster, would be my guess. And certainly the plot is 90% Forster. Again, all the truly prescient stuff was his. I'll give him full credit for that. And it has since my first full-length play was called Isolated Incidents, and it was about a group of people who were all who all stayed home and communicated via the internet and via phones and faxes. At that time, it was via faxes. I wrote it in 1991, 2. And since then, I've written a couple of other plays along those same lines. Maybe it's because I'm a writer and I stay at home a lot and I'm alone at home a lot, that I kind of really feel that sense of isolation and the joys that can bring, as well as watching what happens when everybody starts doing it and nobody comes out to see theater and they all stay home to watch television, or to work on the internet or play. So, it's just one of the things that I find really fascinating and very of the moment. I feel one of our real jobs as artists is to hold up what's happening at the moment, not necessarily to deliver a message, but to just at least hold it up and say, oh, look what's happening right around us right at this moment, and here's how it reflects what happened 2,000 years ago, and here's what it reflects. And so I think that's something that's very peculiar in this point in American history, is this sense of growing isolation and the joys and sorrows that come with that. So for whatever reason, I keep getting drawn back to it. And this play fit in perfectly.
I'm going to blog about this on MySpace later. But
excellent, excellent. Hopefully someone recorded this on their cell phone to put on YouTube as well. That would be great.
But I do have a real question. I don't know if you are you very familiar with many of his other works? Forster's works?
A fair amount, not a lot. But.
No, I definitely noticed this did seem to be somewhat of a departure.
Yeah.
But are there a lot of his works that are similarly different, if you will, and/or have you found any strands in this piece that are actually sort of contiguous with his other works?
I can answer part two of that. Part one, I will have to refer to Martin Cohn, who turned me on to this piece in the first place. He might know more about other pieces like this. The chief thread that I can find in this is that opening, the opening quote to Howard's End, which is "Only connect." That's the whole phrase, "Only connect," and seems to be a driving force in much of Forster's work. Usually it's about emotional connection and class connection and those kind of issues. In this case, it's just about physical connection, trying to get in the same room. But that's the chief thread that I see flowing through. But I'm sure other people will see other things too. And Martin, do you want to get to a microphone? Or?
I think this came from a collection of his short stories, which he wrote all before World War I. I think there were 8 or 9 of them. And some of them had similar themes, so you may want to look that up. I do believe, too, in the foreword he said, as David said, a dystopian counterpunch to H.G. Wells's more utopian visions of the world. So he was trying to say, wait a minute, it ain't that rosy. So I think some of the other short stories will address similar themes.
Just another side note that I just remembered because of this. The main difference, I think, perhaps between the short story and what you saw tonight is that in the short story, humans have evolved from being humans anymore. They're all just blobs. They're these large, creamy, ugly, marshmallow, toothless. I don't know if they're eyeless. No, they're not eyeless because they see each other. But they're just these immobile blobs that are in their chairs, basically, which is part of why they don't transfer. But because they've sat around for so long, they have just evolved out of any need to be mobile. Which is hard to put on stage, unless you're going to have everyone in large, puffy costumes, and then it kind of loses some of the dramatic effect.
Thank you for listening to this special Around Noon broadcast of The Machine Stops by Eric Coble, a dramatization of the short story The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster, first published almost a century ago in 1909. This original radio drama was recorded before a live audience in the Idea Center's Westfield Insurance Studio Theater at Playhouse Square on Friday, August 24, 2007. The play was directed by David Hansen, who also served as narrator. Rocheryl McCrary played Vashti. Nick Kesters was Kuno. Featured actors were Tim Keogh, Dawn Youngs, and Jasmine Corona. Original music was written and performed by Dennis Urich. Foley sound effects were performed by Kelly Elliott. Al Dahlhausen engineered the production with assistance from Jeff Carlton and Dick Barnick. The program was produced by IdeaStream's Dave DiOrio, along with Martin Cohn and Carol Donnelly of the Center for Literature, Medicine, and Biomedical Humanities at High